Kansas is the Big 12 champion again. The Jayhawks' victory over TCU on Wednesday at Allen Fieldhouse meant KU will do no worse than share the conference championship with Baylor. KU beat writer Jesse Newell and star columnist Sam Mellinger were on hand and talked about the game, the championship, and what lies ahead for Kansas. We talk about it on SportsBeat KC, the Star's daily sports podcast. It's Thursday, March 5th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. But first we'll hear from Kansas coach Bill Self. It was senior day as the Jayhawks bid farewell to center Udoka Azubuike and guard Isaiah Moss, and Doke truly rose to the occasion with arguably the best game of his career, 31 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks. The points were a career high, and what a time to accomplish that, the final home game. Otherwise, it was an uneven performance for the nation's top-ranked team. KU couldn't stop a barrage of TCU three-pointers early and didn't begin to get separation until the final 10 minutes. Jesse, Sam, and I talk about that, but first, here's Bill Self.
Okay, guys, have at it.
How's it feel?
It feels good. You know, it's a goal every year to try to win the league, and this, obviously guarantees us a share of it. And we'd like to go down and take care of business Saturday to win it outright. But, it's been kind of a long grind through the conference season, especially when you start out behind and the team in front of you never loses. So it's been about 8 weeks of grinding, but the guys have handled it well, and hopefully we haven't worn ourselves out and we're getting ready to play our best ball. But I'm really happy for our kids. They earned this one.
You talked about how proud you are of them. Is that primarily because of how they had to chase Baylor and Baylor was so good this year?
Yeah, but I think there's more than that. I think that, we dealt with some stuff that's been pretty well known publicly and with basically, very little fault to the guys. I mean, obviously Silvio made a bad error, huge error in judgment the one time. But other than that, the guys have handled the distractions as if they're even not distractions. And that can be taxing on a team and mentally. But I think they've been great. I think they've acted maturely. And I meant what I said. Of all the teams that's been hard to win the league, this has been as hard as it has been to win the league, especially when you're looking up at a team like Baylor, the vast majority of it.
With you talk about the distractions with the response to the allegations maybe coming tomorrow. Do you think those distractions you're not worried about that now? Because
with our players?
Right.
No. But our players aren't. There's nobody on our team a part of any of that. That's attorneys dealing with the NCAA. And to be real honest with you, I'm not a part of that. I haven't spent much time on that, preparing that and doing that. So the response is obviously due tomorrow at some point in time. I don't know what time, and I'm sure that we'll get it in, and I'm sure that'll speak for itself. But I haven't let that bog me down as a distraction, and certainly won't moving forward. I just look at that as that was something that needs to happen from a mandatory standpoint. There's but it's no more than what we knew it was 3 or 4 months ago. So it's just the next play.
Also, Doke tonight, did you know he would be able to play 35 minutes?
I didn't know. I knew yesterday he'd probably play, but on Monday it was 50-50. And even Bill Calgo said, I think he wants to try, and I think he can. He's stable, but it's really swollen. So, and today at shoot around, I knew he would probably play pretty well, because at shoot around I said, Doke, just get loose. You don't make it sore. He said, no, I'm practicing. So I knew that he felt pretty good. He had a little adrenaline meeting today, and that was without question the most aggressive I can remember him to start a game. I thought he was great.
Bill, even though you guys have been chasing Baylor, you've had a lot of games that aren't super close, at least compared to the past. When they kind of threw their punches tonight, it seemed like you guys really enjoyed it. Like, do you think this group?
I think enjoyed it was a little bit of a reach, but you have two guys go 9 of 11 from 3. Obviously we didn't guard them, but even if they're wide open, you don't go 9 of 11. So I don't know if you remember what game was it? Iowa State made 11 threes or whatever the first half, or 10 or whatever, and we were still up 10. It wasn't that tonight, but those two played like that, and we're still right there. And then second half was no better to start, and then Marcus kind of got us going there defensively, and then Doc got on a little roll there. But we played pretty well the second half, I thought.
What's that tell you about your guys that they can respond like that?
Well,
teams are just going nuts.
Well, it tells me that I think that obviously we need to play inside out because drive the ability to drive the ball and get the ball to Doke. But the other thing is, and you guys know, you can't get outscored 30 points from the 3-point line every game and still expect to have success. We've got to do a better job. And a team can get hot against you, but that team tonight played zone, and we got off 12 threes and made 3 against the zone. So we got to do a better job of stretching the defense and guys being more aggressive to shoot the ball because it's not going to. You're messing with fire if you're just relying on outscoring somebody by 40 points from inside the arc in order to win. That's not a good formula for success, even though it worked tonight.
Since we didn't really know if Doke would play, he had that injury. To score 31, the most since Manning did it on his senior night.
I was a part of that one too.
Do you think we witnessed the greatest performance on a senior night?
You know what? I was part of Danny's, and I would say that tonight was probably better just because the game was closer. I was part of that. That night, Danny's senior night, and we weren't very good at Okie State. I didn't have a lot of confidence coming into that one. But I think because the game was close, I would say tonight was probably 31-14-5. That's pretty dominant.
Bill, Doak's had quite a few of these over here. He's had quite a few of these pretty gaudy stat lines as of late. What's been most impressive to you about the way he's kind of closed out this season?
I think his aggressiveness. At K-State he wasn't aggressive early on, and he hesitated making a move, and that's how he turned his ankle. But he like today, he just caught and went. And so I think that's the thing, the thing that he is playing to a very impressive level of athleticism that he hasn't consistently done with in a long time. And I mean, he's hard to score over. He's hard to score around. He's hard to score when people beat our perimeter players. He changes everything. So. But I think the biggest thing is he's just kind of playing like he knows this is the last go-around.
Yes. Bill, it might have been Devon's last home game too. I guess what did you think of him tonight?
I thought he was solid. I don't know that he was great, but I thought he was solid. He's, you get 18 and you're just solid. That's pretty good. So I think that the way they played, you guys know the way that you could take him out of a game is to play zone against him. And that's what they did. So, but he still got 18. So, I thought he played well. I did. I thought he and Doke were by far the two best players we had tonight. But he got 4 steals and he did a nice job. He got careless a couple times, as you guys all know. But for the most part, I thought he was rock solid.
Coach, back here, Udoka, every player's got a different backstory to get here. His is obviously not the same as all the other guys, but coming over and being away from his family and all that stuff. You talked a little bit on the court about him growing and all that. Just how proud are you of him personally for sticking through all those tough times and getting to where he is right now?
Yeah, when Doak visited here on his official visit, he's 15 years old, and he didn't look 15, but he's 15 years old, and I'm proud of a lot of guys that have come here and persevered and done it. His perseverance wasn't from, it was pretty tragic, obviously losing his father and his mom wanting him to go to America to see if there's a possibility of a better life, and to think that your mother could love you so much that she could give you up to move away is a pretty remarkable. I don't know that I think I would be too selfish to do that with my own child. So that's pretty remarkable. And then he moved in with the best host family ever with Harry and Donna, and had a good structure there. But just to see him grow up, I mean, if you guys have interviewed him, who could ever think that he could talk 12 straight minutes? And I thought it could. I thought he forgot thank a couple of custodians that may have held the door or something at some point in time. But I was amazed of how much he's matured. He's so confident in himself right now.
Bill, back here. The Big 12, I guess the general perception is it's top heavy, but do you think it's deeper than most people think? Do you think TCU could be like a dangerous team, so to speak?
Yeah.
Going forward.
I do think it's top heavy from an appearance standpoint. There's no question. And people used to say the league was mediocre because we've always had parity. Even when we won the league with 14-4 or something like that. And so people would say, well, there's a lot of good teams in there, but there's no great ones. Well, you look at the Big Ten this year, the winner in that league is going to have 6 losses. And certainly nobody's saying that it's not the best league in America. So I don't think our league has got probably the due from a recognition, even though the metrics say it was the best league for several years in a row. This year it probably doesn't rate out that way, but if things fell right, you could still get 7 teams in the tournament. If things fell right, if TCU wins Saturday and they go win a game or two in the tournament, they're going to get in. There's OU may have to do something, but Texas, they can get in. Certainly West Virginia will get in, and Tech will get in. I mean, there could be a chance that I thought 5 was the number, but I think there's a chance that we could get more than 5.
What does Silvio's role look like now?
I don't know. I know he's going to travel with us, and he'll suit up. I don't know that doesn't mean he'll play or play much or anything. We've been kind of set in how we've done things and everything. And David's played really well, so I don't see Silvio's eligibility impacting David's minutes. So I don't know what that'll look like, but I do know he's paid a pretty heavy price. It's basically costing the season, and so we'll be excited to have him with us.
You ever get all those smiles, your coaches listening to those speeches? You guys, does that ever get old? I mean, or does it?
No, it's great. It's great. It's great. I thought Isaiah was great too, and he's more quiet than Dope. But no, it never gets old to see guys have success. Now, if we hadn't won the game, I don't think that I would have probably enjoyed it as much. But it's always nice to end the season on a good note. And other than last year, it's the first time since 2005. That we haven't celebrated senior night with the Big 12 championship.
I also want to ask you about Tech. What's the challenge of going down there this weekend? A loss doesn't hurt you. Maybe you guys are needing a little rest still. I mean, how's it going to be to stay sharp?
I think it's the best of all worlds for us. It's just go down there and let it fly. We're not going to be able to do much tomorrow. And Tech's a hard team to prepare for because they run motion, and that's the hardest to prepare for if a team knows what they're doing, and they do. So it'll be a hard game, and you guys saw Tech's effort against Baylor. It was tremendous Monday, and they've had time to rest and recoup. And, the way I look at it, it's not a pressure game though. I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything because it does, certainly for seeding and all those things. But as far as pressure, there shouldn't be any pressure on us to perform. We should just go down there and let it go.
How do you think your team will perform in pressure games from what you've seen so far?
I think we've done pretty well. I don't think our late game execution's been great every game, and hopefully that can get better. That may never be great though if you don't have anybody that can create separation off the bounce. Where you got to run something to go make a basket rather than have a guy just jump up and shoot it. So there's going to be times where we don't look great in that situation. But defensively we've been pretty good late game for the most part, but we can certainly get better. But what are we 27-3, and we've had some the last close game that we didn't execute in or win was obvious against Villanova, and hopefully we've improved since then.
Will you consider rest for guys on Saturday or limiting minutes or anything like that?
I thought about, I'll be honest, I didn't know how Doke or Marcus would be, but I thought about not playing either one of them. But
Saturday?
Yeah. But the way that Doke looked tonight, and Mark told me he felt good. So if their health says they feel good, then we'll positively play them. But if they take a step backwards, then there would be a good chance we wouldn't. But they seem to be doing fine after the game.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Coach.
Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. So one thing I wondered is, how often on these senior nights, these final, home games where Kansas either wins a Big 12 or moves a step closer to winning the Big 12, do they play unevenly? Because I always think there are factors in a senior game, senior day game, or final home game that aren't there for others. And I don't know if that explains anything that we saw tonight, but this was a pretty close game, Kansas-TCU, for 30 minutes. And I still thought, the outcome was in doubt for 3/4 of this game. Are there factors for are there distractions for senior day games, Jesse, that can explain some of the uneven play?
Maybe. Obviously there's emotions that go with it, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that's happening for Udoka Azubuike and Isaiah Moss, but Devon Dotson, too. It's probably his last home game. He tested the waters last year. He almost left last year, and he's projected to be an end of the first round or early second round draft pick this year. So even guys like that, it kind of makes you wonder about them. But, having said that, the two things kind of popped in my mind. Number one, this was KU's 37th straight senior night victory. So obviously, even if they have certain problems in this sort of game, they've won it more consecutive years than I've been alive. So that's pretty impressive. And then the second part about that is that, how much of this was just TCU shooting lights out in the first half? I thought the first 4 or 5 threes were good looks that, Desmond Bane was creating, and they kind of had a clever game plan. But then 3 or 4 of the late ones in the first half were kind of end of shot clock, overextended hands, and you kind of felt like maybe them getting 3-point daggers at a time, the Horned Frogs, that it probably wasn't going to last the entire second half. And it seemed like maybe the law of averages kind of caught up to them in the second half. So maybe there's some of that there, and obviously playing with a little bit more thoughtfulness, emotion, nostalgia, whatever you want to call it. But in the end of the day, KU wins pretty comfortably in the end and gets that big victory just because they needed to win the Big 12.
And I opened by suggesting that they didn't play well because it might be senior day. Of course, the seniors, the star of the game was a senior who had maybe the best game of his career, Udoka Azubuike, with 31 and 14. Yep. And as Gary Bedore pointed out, the most productive senior day game since Danny Manning in '88. So Doke seemed okay. Yeah, he got off to a nice start.
Bill Self was quick to mention that he was part of Danny's game too.
That's right.
maybe part of the 30 points.
Yeah. He had a part of that too. I would just underline everything that Jesse just said about. I do think there's something to be like. Athletes are such a product of routine, especially at the high level competitive sports, major college, professional. Their whole lives are routine, and so anytime you get a little bit out of that, I think you have to consider that as a factor of how a team plays. But my God, like TCU, they were 9 of 15 on threes
after starting. I think 1 of 4. I think did they make 7 in a row or 6 or 7 in a row to end the first half?
Yeah, that to me, and I'm just going to look. They finished 13 of 29, so they were 4 of 14 in the second half. You kind of figured that was unsustainable, right? Like what they did in the first half, but I thought KU was going to pull away a little bit more than they did. I thought they were the better team, just talent, obviously. But I also one of the things I like about this KU team is they all have a purpose, and they all seem to understand what their purpose is. They get mental lapses sometimes, and Abaji might throw a pass off the bottom of the backboard every once in a while, but this team, they play really well together. They seem to know what each person's supposed to do. I thought that would carry them to 15, 20-point win in the second half going away. It didn't, but it was comfortable right at the end.
It took them 30 minutes to get a little separation in this game.
Yeah.
And I just was thinking, watching the game unfold, that someone besides Azubuike and then Devon Dotson was going to have to do something, step up. And almost as soon as I turned to the person I was sitting next to and said that, Marcus Garrett got a couple of steals in a row, and Christian Brown made a couple of buckets. And players other than Udoka Azubuike and Devon Dotson did get involved. And but I don't know, Jesse. I don't. This follows another uneven performance. KU at Kansas State on Saturday. They got to go down to Lubbock this Saturday for a chance at an outright Big 12 championship. Could there be a little late season fatigue going on with this team?
Yeah, I think you were going to hit on the point that I was about to make, which is this team looks tired, and I know it's sort of difficult to explain on a podcast kind of what that looks like. But there was like a possession kind of midway or early in the second half where it seemed like KU was about to get a steal and they were just a half step late. Like TCU tried to throw it to them and they just didn't get there. And then the guy straight line drove on Marcus Garrett straight to the rim and drew a foul. And it's just like, Marcus Garrett's on the top 10 defensive players in the nation list. I mean, when you're isolated, that's not a play that Marcus Garrett allows. I mean, he's the guy that goes out and attacks. Sam, you retweeted that kind of popular GIF now of like, I don't remember which game it was, but like he was going after the guy and like backed him up to mid-court because the guy was so scared. Yeah. The guy was so scared to dribble the ball against Marcus Garrett. I mean, it was just kind of a reversal of fortunes. And we talk about so much about Bill Self sort of progressing. And I don't know about you guys. I was shocked by what he said in the postgame because he has been Mr. Overtime. What has made him so successful is he is competitive to a fault. He wants to win every single game so badly. So when he was asked potentially about resting Marcus Garrett and Udoka Azubuike in the season finale against Texas Tech, I 100% knew his answer was going to be no, got to go win the outright title. And his answer was, yeah, I thought about it. I've thought a lot about it. And so to me, there's just different levels with this team. And it seemed like there was about a 2-minute stretch when KU pulled away in that second half where you talked about it, Blair. There was a Marcus Garrett couple steals. Devon Dotson hit a different sort of gear in transition where he was scoring and getting fouled. And that's the Kansas that we've seen at times this year that kind of looks unstoppable. But you saw it for about 2 minutes against TCU and you saw it for about 4 minutes against K-State. So I think that has to be the biggest worry for this team is just that they kind of are getting ground into the ground, whatever the case may be. And they don't look their freshest selves at this point. And whatever Bill Self can do to get them back to that has to be considered most important. And I'm here to tell you, the Big 12 tournament is not that important in the grand scheme of things. So if KU needs to rest guys there or not make this as much of a Kansas City party as it's been in the years past, I think Bill Self ought to do it.
I was just thinking, nothing like a Big 12 tournament to help a team that needs a little rest.
Yeah, right.
Maybe some injuries to heal up, some nicks and bruises. And you're right, KU will be no worse than the second seed. They could still be the one or the two, depending on what happens in games on Saturday. But 3 games in 3 days for this team? No, and they don't need it. They're going to be the overall number one seed in the NCAA tournament, I think, no matter what happens from here on out. They just can't not be.
And that's the arithmetic right now, is can Baylor still catch them? And hypothetically, maybe they could, just because, like you mentioned, Blair, Baylor could still be the number one seed in the Big 12 tournament.
Yep.
If they went on to win the Big 12 tournament, there would at least be an argument there, hey, they won the conference, they also won the conference championship. But I guess even bigger picture than that, we talked about kind of the cool thing that happens. They get to pick their sites if you're the overall number one seed. So, okay, you could go to Houston if they wanted or LA if they wanted, that sort of thing. But even that, like, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? So you're the number 2 overall seed. Okay, you go to Indy instead of Houston. Or if you don't get to choose between Indy and Houston, maybe KU wants to choose Indy anyway. So I just don't know even if the benefit is that great with that. Again, I'm talking big picture here, and maybe I'm making too much of it. But you see it every time. Like even tonight, Devon Dotson tweaks an ankle. And it goes out, and all of a sudden, you're like, what's going on with Kansas? And Marcus Garrett allows straight-line drives, and it's like, is his foot okay? And Udoka, you're wondering before the game, is he going to play? And then he plays 35 minutes. KU is great because those 3 players are great. And if one of those 3 players isn't on, then this probably looks like a lot different team.
I think what we're all kind of referring to as well without saying it is that this team, as good as they are when they play really well and they just defend like dogs, and that
Absolutely.
can win, that can win a lot of games. Their margin is not very big at all, and you kind of feel it like when you see Doke go down in Manhattan the other day, Dotson, Marcus Garrett maybe not being 100%. I mean, they can't afford any of that stuff in the tournament, or else they're just another team that would have a good run by getting to the second weekend. You know what I mean? If one of those three guys are, can't play, if they're hurt, if they're compromised, that's got to be part of the arithmetic as well. Of they just look, and no team can afford like their best player going down. That's not, I understand that point, but their margin between being the number one overall seed and just kind of the equivalent of like a 5 seed is just not that big at all. It's one bad injury.
I was surprised that Doke played 35 minutes tonight. 35. Yeah. This was
ultra competitive, Blair. That's
yes,
what I said.
as we heard, 2 hours before the game, until Doke came out, the only people who knew Doke was going to play were, I guess,
in the
room, right? Yeah. In the locker room, and then he comes out and plays 35, and they needed him. I mean, he had to play and do what he did tonight for Kansas to win the game. So I guess what I'm saying is I agree with you guys that healing would be the best thing that could happen to this Kansas team right now. And it's not like they're not dealing with major injury problems, but just enough nagging injury problems that can slow a team down.
It's weird to think about it in these terms, but I think you kind of look at two separate things too. And I think it's a good sign for Bill Self to say he thought about sitting Marcus and Udoka potentially against Texas Tech. But I think the other side of this is just think about the Big 12 tournament. 3 games, 3 days. And we just talked about the ultra competitiveness. I mean, Doke played 35 minutes tonight. We weren't sure he was going to play at all. And so what happens when Bill Self gets in competitive games? Like, he doesn't want to lose to Oklahoma State. He doesn't want to lose to Iowa State. He doesn't want to lose to Oklahoma. And so it's almost a matter of you kind of have to save yourself from yourself in this situation. You have to go in and tell yourself that there's going to be a minutes restriction. But I think the biggest obstacle is just you don't want to completely wear guys down over a 3-game stretch in 3 days. And let's be honest, KU is uniquely positioned to take advantage of this. I mean, how many teams out there right now are sitting here thinking, no matter what happens over the next week and a half, don't know if the NCAA seeding is going to really change. Or maybe it'll change from 1-1 to 1-2. And we've seen, like in the NBA, the Spurs sit their guys and they rest them before the playoffs, the most important game. We've seen this work at the higher level. It's just in college, there's just really not that opportunity for teams to kind of take advantage of this sort of thing. So the fact that Bill Self is thinking about it, I think is encouraging. But I think if nothing else, he's got to come up with something for the Big 12 tournament to not run this team into the ground.
Yeah. One other thing, too, is Doke played 35 minutes and he was spectacular.
Unbelievable.
But I think there might be a danger if anybody thinks, oh, well, he played 35 minutes and he was spectacular, all good, erased. Yes. Because that, there was a lot of adrenaline going through that man. He was playing for something more than just to beat TCU or just to clinch a Big 12 championship. And you can tell, like, every senior, if they spent 4 years, no offense, Isaiah Moss, but that was not the most emotional, Kansas career that anybody's ever had. But, 4-year seniors, they're going to feel a little something extra in that game. But I thought even on that standard, you heard it after the game, both what the public heard on the court and then, in the press conference. I mean, that stuff really, really mattered to him. And it mattered to him to play. It mattered to him to play well. He talked, last time running through the tunnel, all those things. He's not going to have that in Lubbock. The last game of the season that doesn't really matter. And I think there might be a big danger if anybody thinks he's solved.
All right, I know it's late, but I want to run some numbers by you guys, and you tell me which one, by winning tonight, Kansas achieved some milestones. Which one of these numbers kind of stands out to you? So by beating TCU tonight, now they now have a 15-game winning streak. It's one of the top, 5 or 6 longest in the Bill Self era. They clinched at least a share for first place. It's the 62nd conference title in 113 years of conference play, so more than half of the years that Kansas has been in a conference. They finished first. It's 19 conference championships in 24 years of Big 12 play. 37 straight victories on Senior Day for Kansas. I think that's every one of the Larry Brown, Roy Williams, and Bill Self eras. So Ted Owens was the last one to drop a game on Senior Day. And the 500th KU victory for Bill Self. They celebrated his 700th overall victory earlier this year. Tonight was his 500th victory at KU, and I don't think that came up in the 15-minute post-game interview with Bill. So any of those kind of achievements resonate more than the other one?
They all do, but 62 is
62 and 100.
That's better than Doke shooting free throws.
Yeah, right.
62 out of 113, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's a lot better.
So if he shot 113 free throws, his percentage would be about what KU wins the conference title.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. That's like Duke has obviously like a really proud history. They have some empty years as well. You can't win 62 of 113. Is that the?
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah, they won the first one in 1908, and they've won the most recent one. And Scott Drew has a chance to get Baylor a piece of that.
You know, the one streak that we don't talk about that often that I think goes maybe overlooked, and obviously, the streak that KU had with the Big 12 titles and Bill Self was crazy, but their string of making the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And you think about the blue bloods out there, Kentucky, they have a down year. North Carolina, they have a down year. I mean, everybody
having a down
year. Goes through a down year. You just mentioned 500 wins for Bill Self. This is his 17th season at Kansas. He's not done with 17 seasons. Yeah. I'm doing quick math here, but 510 wins would be 30 a year. I mean, that's pretty dumb too, right? Yeah. Like, to average 30 wins a year and not have, again, we can talk about Roy Williams. They had a tough year. He had to go to recruiting class. It just didn't come together. Sometimes you win 18 or 19 games. It hasn't happened at Kansas, and he always talks about the story about he wasn't sure he wanted to replace a legend, and he called up his dad, Bill Self, and I'm not sure if I need to take the job at Kansas. And Dad said, if you don't think you can replace Roy or live up to his standard, you probably shouldn't. And so about 24 hours later, Bill Self accepted the job. Basically, he'd been called soft by his dad, so he went ahead and took the Kansas job. But I mean, that is crazy to think that someone who replaced Roy Williams in that level of success and all the fears out there that this guy can't live up to him. I mean, he's surpassed him. There's no other way to say it. This guy, if he stays at Kansas and is able to, after all of the allegations and all the things that are coming out here very soon, he'll pass Phog Allen in wins here very soon and he's very close to the greatest coach in Kansas history, and that is not an overstatement. So, yeah, 500 wins in 17 or 16-plus seasons, 16 and a half, 16 and two-thirds seasons. That's pretty crazy as well.
They'll have to name the court for him, don't you think? The building that name's taken. And it's James Naismith Court, that's taken. You got to maybe hyphenate that?
Well, Blair, I did my best Poznansky here a few years back and did the look at KU 10 years in the future, and it was Allen Fieldhouse. So you got to do like the little Gallagher eye, but you got to do the hyphenation.
I like that. You just mentioned it. We're recording this Wednesday night after the KU game. There will probably be some news coming down the pike for KU?
Well, there will be. When they received their amended notice of allegations a couple weeks ago, as we reported in the Star with the new football violation that happened under Les Miles' watch, the deadline to submit KU's response back to the NCAA with the notice of allegations was March 5th. And so as we're talking, tomorrow is March 5th. So Kansas can't wait any more days. They will release something that will be public that will kind of be their response to the NCAA. Again, we'll know more. People listening right now probably know more than we do, but at this point it just seems like it's going to be kind of the standard response that KU has given before, that they want the NCAA to use verifiable facts, and if there are things out there that can be proven against Kansas, they want the NCAA to prove it. Unfortunately for KU in this matter, the NCAA is not a court of law. They can sort of do what they want with these cases and with the bodies that are going to look over this and decide what happens. But that's kind of been KU's stance on this whole thing, and so I would expect more of the same when they officially announce their response to the notice allegations coming on what it would be Thursday.
All right, guys, get back to your laptops. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Well, that'll do it for today. Hey, it takes a village to produce a podcast, and thanks to our producers, Derek Donovan, Savannah Smith, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett for putting together today's show. Hey, leave a comment or a like where you can. We'd appreciate it. We'll be back on Friday for another episode of SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.